Yahoo! Anyone there? So, what are we doing? That's what we're doing. So why isn't that up here? Yes. Comments. Hey, morning! Got you. So, right, quick hellos. Who's up already? I can't go underneath there. Julie. Hey, oh, hang on. Got you. Let's get rid of that. So I can see Cindy, and it's not letting me go higher, but somebody is above that. We might get, oh no, we'll get, yoo-hoo, Cheryl. We might get notifications coming up because they've been, this is new time. Right, anyway, so Cindy, Jane, Carol, Catherine, Jill, Anna, Annie, Julie, Heather, Joe, Heather, 2 Heathers, Zena, there's lots of you there, 54, oh my gosh, Corinne, I said to Zena, didn't I, Sharon, Michelle and Roberta, Georgina, Susan, there's loads of you, new Nora, Tracy. So I'm saying good morning to everybody in one massive hello. Hi Gabby and Lise, Margaret, Sandra, Sarah, Snowy, Deb, 68, Jenny, Ruth, Marie. Oh, there's loads. I better kind of help it along a bit. Janice, Kathleen, Anne. Oh, I saw that, Anne. I hope you're feeling okay and you can see and don't strain your eye. Oh, bless, just for being there. Thank you. Jules. Sorry, I've got my arm across that. And Helen. Okay. So, there's always something. And that's it. I'm assuming you can hear those notifications. And we've had them, Annika, Anita and Teresa and Joyce, Kathy. Annika switched them off, but in the hours that I was doing the workshops, and of course now this is a new time, so we're going to get notifications coming up. This is only going to be about an hour. That is going to be annoying, I appreciate. Hi Shauna, but we'll have to go with it. We'll get it organised for the next one. You all know I'm learning every day something, and it's just roller coasting, so I'm pretty pleased. Hi Shira and Sue. But I didn't even consider this being a different hour, so the notifications are going to come up as long as things don't disappear. So I hope you like the idea of what we're doing. Which way do I move? This way. That's how slow the brain is these days. So there's the dress. Now, we're always reliant on equipment and modern technology, which isn't great. Well, I'm sure that the technology is great, but my relying on it isn't great. So many of you there. So, but it's all getting better. So just stick with it. I'm sure you will. You're the most supportive people I've ever come across. So thanks for even being here. But I promise you, with the plans we've got, things are roller coasting along. So absolutely very excited. But I just thought we would do, Well, we did the 26 days. I know I tried to explain this on Thursday, and that's what got me thinking about technology again. I had to go back to my phone on Thursday to try and... Is it out of sync again? I don't... Can you let me know? Because Sarah's saying it's out of sync. But it's not on mine. See, the thing is, Sarah, now... I'm looking at it from your point of view on my phone, and I'm looking at what I'm actually doing, and I can't see out of sync. So it could be on yours, I'm afraid. So it might be worth just going off and on again. So the plan was, I thought, would work really well. If on Thursday I put the dress on, and... It's all right, so people are sending me messages to get on. So I walk up and down like we did in 26 dresses in the summer, because that worked really well and it was a lot of fun. So this whole exercise, this whole sewing school thing Saturday morning, is about designs and patterns. So it's not all my techniques on how to put a zip in and things. There's got to be room to be able to do other things. So this is purely a different pattern every week, made in different fabric. And so I can talk through the lessons that I've learnt making up that garment, what I would do next, the difficult bits that you might come across and to be wary of, so you know in advance. And just talking it through so you know whether the design is for you or not. Because it's, you know, patterns are getting expensive these days. And it's great if somebody can give you a bit of behind the scenes stuff first without going to the expense of wasting your money on a pattern. So that's kind of what I'm all about. Can you give me the thumbs up if you're happy and you kind of... And more so, I'm interested that you read it as what we're doing. I wonder why it's out of sync. I can't see it out of sync on there. That's annoying. Okay, that's my in word of the moment. Annoying. But honestly, it's not out of sync on mine. So some of you must know. Oh, I'm getting thumbs up. Wendy got on. That's great. Cheryl's watching. Sally, thumbs up. Henny, hi there. And Shauna. So I'm kind of... This is the first one. And I'm chatting away now because we can spend a bit longer on it. But in the future, the Thursdays will probably be recorded, but they're not going to be till my new i12 turns up. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to do a still picture or whatever it takes. As I've said to a couple of you, I'm improvising at the moment. I'm doing whatever it takes to get the plan together. And then when everything slots in perfectly into place, then we're off. So the Thursday thing will be a recording. That way I can just tell you, and I'm not going hello to everybody, because I know it drives some of you guys mad that we're getting to a point, and then I've said hello to 20 people and you've been there from the beginning. Hang on a sec, because that's Annika trying to tell me something. Hello. Just bear with me because Annika's going to fix something, I'm sure. Hiya.
Sorry, should I call you back later?
Are you watching?
Oh my god, no I'm not. I've completely forgotten. What's happening?
Okay,
I'm saying that.
Right.
Are you having problems?
Not major problems, but two things. The people are saying it's slightly out of sync, but to be honest, I can't see that on the
Let me have a look.
Laptop thingy. And also, what was the other thing? I forgot now. There's two things though. Bear with me.
Yeah, that's alright. You actually don't look like you're lagging here.
Yeah, I can't see it as well, but there's at least 3 people said it's out of sync.
What's everyone else think?
I've not seen anything else, but comments are coming up, which is good. I was going to tell you something else, but it's just gone. So it was the lag. I'll have to talk to you about it afterwards. I can't remember what it was.
Well, if I stay online, I'll have a look and keep an eye out.
All right. So can I switch?
It's very nice. I like your top.
Thank you. It's a dress.
Right,
Just,
okay.
darling.
Yeah, of course. All right. Speak to you soon, and I'm going to keep an eye out.
All right. Now. Thank you, lovely. And just put a comment.
Okay,
if you've got anything to tell me, just put a comment. No, just put. Yeah. Well, I'll get the other phone, but give me a comment, please, if I need to fix anything. Oh, I know what the other thing was. Because you set the thingy for notifications, we're out of those hours now, so I'm getting all the notifications up.
Yeah.
You can't.
I can't really do anything about that right now without the computer in front of me. It'd be too much to explain it to you.
Okay, that's fine then. We'll just go with it.
That out for future.
Yeah. All right then, sweetie. I'm going to switch you off.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Make sure. Right, let me get everybody back up again. So you should be there. Sorry about that, everyone, but I hope you don't mind. I always feel like you're part of all of this. So anybody new just might think we're just mad. All of us. We're all in it together. But this is all part of it, making it our community, and we're going to grow this thing. So if you see... you know, if I'm sort of practicing and trying to get things right, that's because we want it perfect in the future. Okay. So yeah, so the video will then mean I can just say my piece and do the walkabout. You get back and front and whatever I say to you about the pattern. So that will be kind of a 10-15 minute recording, and then these Saturdays will be an hour of me going through the details. So it's about the pattern. If I can tell you a hack, or if I can, I'd like to tell you more about a French dart today because they are fabulous. And then just what I used to make this dress, and then hopefully you can go away and have a go at it if that's what you want. If you don't, then wait till next week. I'm going to do some really simple stuff. I want to make some trousers. A lot of you kind of saw last year what I kept talking about. I want to make this, I want to make that. Of course, I haven't made any of it because there's no time. So this gives me an excuse to make 52 things and catch up with what I wanted to make. And then, of course, we start to get into March and we'll start seeing new patterns for the new season. Then we can move on to some exciting stuff. So I will be doing trousers, simple tops, just skirts, but things that I find, so for me it's all about it's fashion that is suitable for all of us. I mean, obviously not everybody's going to like it. Some of it you just totally won't like. It's not for you, but that's fair enough. We're all different. But I think it helps to sit everything into the much bigger world of making and fashion, so you're able to choose what you want. There's nobody can ever say to you you can't wear that, it's wrong. It's how we adapt it and sit it into our own program and then make it work for us. So that's what these Saturday mornings are about. Right, so Angie's saying she can't add comments on laptop, only on phone. I think there's a reason for that. Oh, Angie, I don't know, have you got what I found, because I had that, I don't know if you remember, I had that problem a couple of weeks, but I've got different what do you call them, pages. So there's the Spirit of Couture, Terry Fox the Business, and That's So Terry Fox. If you're logged into one of them and you're trying to watch something else, I think that's it. You have to switch over. I don't know if I've even explained that well, or even if it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, but just a thought. Right, let's get that button. Let's get that sat there. And more like that so you can see. So So you've probably gathered anyway, because I put another post up about the top. Now I need my glasses. Hi Denise. So this dress, now I ended up, I love it, and probably what will happen again in the future on the Saturdays, I might be wearing what I've made so you can see it again, but I just felt I wanted to lift this up and see, because next week I've got in mind what I want to do, and I think you need to see me in it when I'm talking about it. And Cheryl loves the philosophy of learning to make what you like work for you. And that's what it's all about. Because it's a bit like the people that talk about colour. You can wear any colour, it's just getting the right shade for you. But I also think colours have got personalities, and sometimes they don't match. And I think that's when you don't feel... I'm not a blue person. I don't wear a lot of blue, but I've got into it since I've been living back here, because I bought a jumper and it was just the right... You know, when you get lots of comments, it makes you... compliments even, it makes you look at things differently. Hi Nikki, how's you? But anyway, this is a typical me fabric. So it's got the black, I feel comfortable in black, but it's got the vivid colours, you know, that I like vivid lipstick, etc. It's comfortable, it's classic. The only thing I haven't done yet on this is the buttonholes. It's got, I'll have to finish that off today, but it's got button-up cuffs. And I fancy, I've got a lot of buttons. And I've got a lot of vintage buttons, and I know I'll have 2 pink flowers somewhere, so I thought that would be ideal, but I've got to go on a search for it. And Marie says she's only just started hacking, and I've said to some of you guys before, I've only just started mentioning it really. Well, this for a year we've been going through it, and that's because it wasn't allowed. You know, you weren't allowed to start talking about patterns. The pattern industry didn't want you to hear that you were doing things to their patterns, and especially putting 2 different patterns together, you know, 2 different seemingly companies. But now that they're all under one umbrella anyway, and nobody minds, so that opens up a whole new area to you, and you can start being your own designer. So, and for the right reasons, you can choose your reasoning behind it, and that brings me to this dress. So some of you would have seen the post, and I was about to cut out the whole dress. I liked the actual dress, which is this one. So you should have the number by now, but if not, just to recap, it's Vogue 1721. And what I especially love about this was my freebie when I joined up with Sew Today. So it is a £17, I think, pattern, but it was nice to get that through the post, and I waited for the day that I was going to use it. And so yesterday lunchtime I cut that out, and this fabric is exactly the same. So both of these are Colville fabrics, but it's quite a slinky knit, so it's got a good sort of drapeability to it. So you can see, some of you will have seen me do this. I think I did it on Awesome Pattern Hacks. So this is quite a straightforward dress, but I hacked it into this. Okay, so same fabric. Now I'm going to show you, but I did put the picture up, but I'm going to show you the first issue I came across. Wendy got it free too. Hi Kay. So that's the back. I'm going to show you the front, because the front is more apparent what the problem would be. So it's on the fold, the centre front is on the fold of the fabric. Then you've got that you've got that. So if I can't even put this, where do I go? Imagine that. Keep going, keep going, keep going. So we want our fabric to be twice that width. If it's going to be on the fold, it's got to be twice that width. So the only way you're going to do it is down the length of the fabric. And it's got a piece to go on there, you know, when it's only half a pattern. So it's got that much to go on the bottom of it as well to make it long enough. Because that, if that's the centre front, it's quite short. So we need to get... Where are we? It's doing a different thing on there. Yeah, that's it. So we need it to be way down here to get the length. So you have to do it along the fabric. And in this silky knit, which is the recommended type of fabric for it, it really is going to end up a bit up and down if you're not careful. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but ideally it needs to be done on a stable fabric like a cotton. But then the pattern isn't right for a cotton, so you need quite a firm knit and something fine enough to take all those gathers, and that fullness is going to be difficult to come across to get that just right. So for me, I hadn't got a lot of time, plus I wouldn't wear it with that much fullness, being too short, and all those gathers would really go like that on me. I opted for the bottom half of this pattern. Now you can quite clearly see that's making quite a straightforward. That doesn't help. It's one of those, do we get the table in? If I go further back, just bear with me. You'll be able to see it. Ooh. That's it. Okay. So it was a much different scenario. That's plenty full of fullness for me, and it's still the classic gorgeous shape, very much in fashion. These dresses are selling easily 1,800, you know, in my favourite place I shop in my head, which is Harvey Nicks. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for. I'm looking through magazines and seeing what's out there. That's the dress that I want. Then I'm going to create it in some way using what I've got, and that's the style I've come up with. What is fab about this is that neckline. It's ever so simple, but that it's really, really well cut. And I want to explain to you why it's well cut and then what you could change. But first of all, another immediate alteration that I had to do is I took 2.5 inches out of the length of the sleeve. You can see my fold actually. So those sleeves are really long. That's a whole sleeve. Now some of you may need it. My arms are short, but I don't usually take that much out. So you have to calculate it well. Now it's got pleated detail into the cuff, which is here, which is really pretty. And when you've got pleated detail, you've got to be careful, or gathers. So if it's quite a full lower half to the sleeve going into a cuff, that you do add extra length. Don't just, if you're a 22-inch length or 23-inch length sleeve, for that type of sleeve, it's easily got to, so if you're 22, it's easily going to be 24. So an extra 2 inches in there is necessary, because the fullness has to go back up on itself. It needs to look full, but for me, with an extra, and it does look full on me, there is quite a fullness, like a bell shape to it. But with an extra 2.5 inches, I'm going to lose even the pleated detail. It's going to tuck under itself, and just look like a trumpet shape. So getting that right is quite crucial. You can do it as you go along, but you just got to be aware that's what you're doing. So in other words, cut it as long as you want, then you make your pleats, put it on, you'll have to take it off and cut it off. So if you know how much to get rid of, it's easier to do it before, because you've gone through all that trouble to do your pleats and mark everything, and then you want to set it into your cuff. The thing is, if you do put the work in, you will, then the next one will be so much easier. Hi Audrey. And Debbie started screenshots. I don't know if that's, if I say it, if it's the same. Screenshotting clothes from website and put it into an ideas folder. Absolutely. I was sent Christmas a voucher for being a customer. I've lost that now. I was reading something. For a free pattern of my choice. Excellent. No, right, okay. So we're getting to the top. So you can see why I didn't use that skirt, and you can see now the immediate thing I had to do to the sleeve. Now let's talk about the top, because that's where it's all going on. Now, the surprising thing is, but also it's kind of what makes it work, there is a centre front seam on the top only. It was on the fold. I could have cut it all if I wanted with a centre front seam, but I didn't really. If I can avoid a centre front seam going through the front where it's obvious, but also a lovely flowery pattern, then I would. So I did want the skirt to be on the fold, but of course I could do that because my skirt is much narrower. I would have thought, okay, straight away in my head, I'm going to put this centre front bodice as a on the fold. I've got to answer this actually. Somebody is saying, I keep saying somebody, I don't mean to it. I know, I feel I know you all personally, but I see flashes of things, so I say somebody said. It's just quicker, and it's gone now. Somebody's asked me, how long are my sleeves? Wendy, how long is your arm? Could we use that as a guideline? Fantastic idea. So if I tell you, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I'm usually, yeah, my arm is 20 to the wrist. So let's see what this sleeve measures. And this sleeve is 25.5 about to the wrist. And mine's, what did I say mine was? Because I'm usually, did I say 20? Yeah. So 20, there's 5.5 inches difference between my arm and the length of that sleeve. Now I took 2.5 out. That's gone. So that left me with 3 inches to give me that curve. So when it's on, that give me that fullness, let's say. So I've got 3 inches, which kind of makes sense because it's going, you know, it's coming out and then back up on itself for those 3 inches. So that's sort of 1.5 out and 1.5 back in. So I don't know if that helps everybody, but at least you can see the logic. There's still an extra 3 inches there, and I think anybody would think that sleeve is long at 25 inches. Don't you love it when you add it all up and it actually makes sense because it comes together? Okay. Now, in a real world, in an ideal world, not a real world, I keep forgetting this. This is the real world. I'd like to place my bodice on the fold, but it can't be because it's shaped. And the reason for that is it's not like a polar neck. It's kind of got this turtleneck effect that is grown onto the bodice. In all honesty, that's what makes it so stylish. This would look fantastic in a plain fabric, because the only shaping is the seam that comes up the front that gets it around the curve of the neck, else you'd strangle yourself. But that's beautiful because it can fit close if you like that sort of thing. I'm going to tell you how to get rid of it as well in a minute. But the thing is, the neck comes up and around and follows the chin line, so it's really elegant. It couldn't do that without a seam. I don't know if you've ever put a polar neck on, let's say, to a top, and I've been doing that for the next sew today, believe it or not. I've got one, hang on. What has it got? Just bear with me. So I'm doing for the next Sew Today magazine article just a simple top and how to use up your remnants, but usually it's put on like that. But especially for somebody like me, I've got a scrawny neck. For some reason these bits around here are the only small bits about me, and my ankles, and that really stands out. It kind of looks like my head is buried into this band. So this is the first time really I've worn anything that is so elegantly fitted around the neck, and that is because from the side you can see the shape that it follows, and what shapes it around this way. So that's what I've just shown you. The centre front shapes it that way, but what shapes it around this way is this lovely little dart that they've done. That kind of kinks it then to go around the collarbone. And I have to say, so in a plain fabric you would see this seam and these two darts, and they look really specialised. It does look a designer touch. The obvious issue you've got with that is, in my case, pattern. So believe it or not, hopefully you believe it not, is that has a seam going right up through there. So you're into having to do a pattern match. But we've done those before and they are easy. Once you've got your formula right, and if anybody hasn't done that with me, because I've done it a couple of times now, I'll do it again at some point. And when we get the club going, it'll definitely be included in there. And so Susan's saying, that's what I need. I always find collars and necklines too wide for me. Susan, then if you like a high neck, you will like this, I promise you. I can never get, if you put a band on, and even though it's got a zip or fastenings at the back, it will always be loose here and loose on the side and never look fabulous. So I'd kind of, before now, I've taken darts out of the side, but you're always aware that you're doing that to make it work. This is the first time I've ever seen such an elegant high neck, I've got to be honest. Okay, now some of you have got in touch already and said you can't bear to wear a neck like that, but it's only grown onto it, so you have no issues to get rid of it. Fold it out the way. Use that little dart as a guideline really, because that little dart is making it kink in the right direction around your collarbone. So you've got, straight away, you've got an idea of where it's meant to sit on your collarbone. So you could just get a felt pen and draw that round, come along here and ignore the dart. You might have to scoop it out a little bit more, widen it. You know, that's one of those things you're going to have to play with. Make a calico, we all get bored with that. So do it a little bit fuller than you want it and cut it down. You could literally make sure you've got a seam allowance on it, get it on and do this, feel for it and put either pins in it or, you know, whatever it takes. Mark chalk line and make yourself a fitted collarless top. Or then you can start getting as wide V-necked, do what you want. You are the designer. Okay, so that is how to get rid of that neck. Once you've got rid of the neck, the collar, let's say, there's no reason for this centre front seam. So then, even though it's starting to kink off kind of about here, but you don't want it to kink out all of a sudden, so fold that back, get rid of your seam allowance, and now you can press that, place that on the centre front. So that isn't a difficult neckline, and the corresponding bit on the back is even easier. There's no darts, there's no nothing, so you just get that out of the way. In your mind, always think, if you put your hands around here, this is curved, so don't cut off in straight lines. You know, try not to rely too much on, people often say to me, but I've got nobody to help me. I don't have anybody to help me. I do it all by feel. And when you start to feel your hand, the cup of your hand sits nicely around your neck, and how you can take that to your pattern pieces and get an idea of the curve and the feel. Won't be precise, but give yourself a chance to get to the next bit to be able to then smooth things perfectly. Always beware of where you're going, but where you've come from. Yes, I mean, and there is a stretch. This pattern is for stretch, so it does help. Jeanette's saying it does help with the close fitting because of the fabric, and that's why we're using that fabric. It's got to be a stretch, and there's got to be some give in there. Having said that, I can imagine, but that's a whole different story. This sculptured in a linen or a Japanese type fabric, because just seeing those simple lines cut into it, even then edge stitched or hand stitched to create a detail, maybe some thick pearl cotton top stitch by hand with the threads left loose, so you've got bits sticking out of it. This is you adding your personality, your character to it. So although your statement was, I suppose the fabric helps with the close fitting to the neck, that goes off on a whole different story. So all these pieces fit together in a much bigger story that you can call upon. It's like, I know I say it before, and I'm sorry to go on about it. When people say to me, Inspired by McQueen wasn't for them, although lots of people then booked onto it. It's a bit like the bar suits, saying I'll never wear a bar suit. I don't expect anybody to wear a bar suit. What it is the lessons within it. Take just fractions of those, and you can bring it into your everyday. It's having the whole story, so you can lift your little bits. Without the whole story, you never know what is right or wrong or on the move. And that's why we need to know all of this stuff. It's not about just the specifics. It's about, okay, I can see why someone does that, but this time round it's not for me. But I get why it works. And if it works, we would have never been able to do speed tailoring if we hadn't done traditional tailoring, because that is a way of emulating and something that takes a long time to do, but we're using their knowledge to get there quicker. So it's never going to be that, but it is going to have the reasoning behind it that they had. I hope that makes sense. Right, is there a zip in the back of, or does it really? No, there's a zip in it, most definitely. And I know that because I tried to do it without. And Catherine, I didn't sew the dress on the overlocker. So, but I'll talk through all of these things. So we've talked about the neck, and hopefully those that asked about and they don't like the high neck, that makes sense. I want to talk about the French dart. That's my whole issue for this week. or might not issue where I'd like to concentrate on, because French darts are gorgeous. So, but let me answer those 2 questions because they'll go and I'll forget, and then we're going to finish off with this French dart. How we've, just out of interest, how we're doing for time. I can't see that with the notifications on. Hang on a minute. So we're all okay. Deirdre says your lessons really make us think about what we are doing. That's good. Hey Jess, your aunt is great. Where's Jess then? There is back zip. I'm an auntie, can you believe? I'm not responsible for myself, let alone anyone else. Yeah, alright. So I didn't sew, Catherine, I didn't sew on the overlocker. I haven't got an overlocker. I will do one day, I think, when I grow up. But I used a very slight zigzag the whole way through it. So even on the hem, it's still got give to it. But I used a 1.5 width in zigzag and a 3 in length. So it's kind of almost straight, but it's definitely not straight. But you're looking like you're doing a 3 in length straight stitch, but it is going side to side. And that's kind of what I top stitched with for the hem. And then test your fabric, but in places, obvious places where there's lots of movement, such as here, I would do the zigzag a little bit deeper, so it's got more give, more stretch in it, and when you're moving, that you can you know, you'll take up some of that width in your, by expanding. Everyone needs a mad auntie. I never said mad, Anne. No, I totally agree. Can I find pattern matching on your page? Gosh, it would have been, I did something on pattern matching on one of our Friday live Fabulosity Friday chats. Where and when, I don't know. It was in the year, so. But this is all what we're going to fix about the group. But the thing is, it will be a membership group. I have to keep saying that. But there's going to be so much content weekly. But it'll give me an opportunity to have a proper platform that I rely on, it works. And we can slot all these things in different places. So my plan is to have every technique listed as a separate thing, so you can go to it to get to see it. At the moment, this is just all free. Well, when I say free, I mean free-spirited and live, and it's like, come round to my house, I'm doing this. But in time, it'll be a different thing. So I answered the question. What was the question? Did you say your address or no? So I didn't do it over on an overlocker, but there was another question close by that I'm really, oh yeah, the zip. So this has a zip running straight up the back. It's an invisible zip, but I did something I'm chuffed with. Okay, so you can see, so it's a pattern match. I love pattern matches, and it's like anything, once you know how, it's easy, but you have got to spend some time with it. But once you get the right formula, you just get on with it and it works really well. Is there a zip in the back, or does it rely on the stretch? Now the reason I put the zip in is because I thought I'd get away with it, and of course you can't. With a neck that big, that I cannot get that over my head, so it had to have a zip in there. And okay, so I didn't have to go too far in the dress, because that's plenty, that'll expand plenty enough for me to get into it. So it's, you don't really need it being flared, you don't need a zip too long in the back. So this is the bit that I did that I'm chuffed with. Instead of putting a centre back seam in there, so there's no seam in the lower half of this, I put a dart in the top. So my zip goes down into a dart. Now actually, that's only like putting a zip into a seam, but doesn't it sound great? It sounds like I'm really, really, really clever. And it is an unusual thing to do, but it worked fantastic. So all it meant was, let's just say, forget what this pattern piece is. Let's just say that is on the fold of the fabric, my centre back skirt. Okay, so let's pretend my centre back skirt is on the fold of the fabric and I'm putting it up against the fabric. There's a line there, that's the fold. But I need to stitch some of it away because I'm trying to get a zip in it, so I need a seam, and there is no seam if it's on the fold of the fabric. So I'm going to move it away a 5/8 seam allowance. Now you could just do that all the way down, sorry. You're just adding a bit to the skirt itself, which you'll have to adjust when you're matching up your side seams. But you can just do it at the top. You'll straighten everything down. So as long as for, let's say, about 9 inches, I've got some extra, and then just place it on the fold. There's a little kink in there, but in your mind's eye, forget it, and then you're going straight up the back of the fold. Does that make sense, everybody? I need to know that it's kind of a fiddle, but it's not a normal thing we're doing. So we're allowed a bit of fiddling to get things to do what we want them to do. Can you give me a thumbs up if you understood that, please? So all I'm saying is you need to add a seam allowance on the back, but actually when you cut down, because it's on the fold, you're only going to cut down about 9 inches or however much the remaining of the zip is that you want to put in there. Yay! Lots of thumbs up. So if I take this off there, I should be able to show you the dart. Right, I have to keep an eye on all my things because next time I come to use this pattern, I'll only have half of it. So there is a back zip, Ruth. Is there a zip in the back, or does it rely on? So yeah, we've done that. Oh yes, so we've gone down now, haven't we? Because I went back up. That's clever, very clever. Thank you. Yay. Oh, so everybody, cunning plan ball trick. Brilliant. So where's my bottom of it? Okay. So you can, I don't know if you can actually, because I forgot about, because I know it's white on the back, but I forgot I put this black tape in there. I'll tell you in a minute what that is. So there's a little dart at the bottom that took me from nothing, the point, which is on the fold, to just bringing it in to allow me to have that seam allowance. And you can just about see some stitching lines, which is putting my zip in. All this is a strip of fusible interfacing because it's stretchy for my zip. I'm not going to, this week, I'm not telling you how to put an invisible zip in. That's a technique for a workshop. But just so you know what that black strip is, it's to stop it stretching when I put my zip in. And that, I always take it on a little bit longer, so that's why the dart is stitched through that. Okay, everybody happy? Is the bodice and the skirt one piece, or does it have a... So hopefully we've talked about that, because we've got two patterns. So the bodice and the skirt I could have, that could have been a hack, but it's 2 pieces. There is a waist seam, because they're doing totally 2 different things. There's no, if it was a straight slip dress, then I could join them up together, but this skirt is full, so it means it's got fullness in the front as well, so you can't have a waist seam, sorry, if I've read that right. Okay, now the big thing, which I think is the most gorgeous thing, is this has a French dart. So that means the dart comes up from the waist, yeah, almost at the waist, and it comes up to the bust. Now, I think you've only got to say French seam, and French dart, and it sounds magnificent. And anything that's French does. It's like the French seam, the French dart, the French curve. You just know it's going to be elegant. It just comes hand in hand, doesn't it, with that? So the reason I really want to talk about is why it works, and then why isn't there a French seam dart in everything? French seams, I understand why there's not lots of, because they are difficult to do, and it's got to be the right type of fabric, etc. And Deirdre says, your pattern hat has made this dress wearable for just about anyone. And do you know what? And it's probably an age thing, so I can't, with confidence, it is a good, you do get more confident as you get older. I am one of those just about anybody type of people. I always think if it looks okay on me, then it's got to work, because I'm short, I'm at an age, but I like fashion, I love fashion, so it's always on that edge of, is it appropriate, blah, blah, blah. I don't do inappropriate clothes. You won't see me in a mini skirt, not that I'm saying anybody else can't, but you won't see me in a low cut top, blah, blah, blah. So if I've thought about it enough and I think that is classic, but it's right on the nail with fashion, it kind of usually is, you can adapt it to anybody. And that's what this, for me, is what I love most, that you, not everyone, I do get it, please don't say I'm preaching, and I don't mean to at all, but I do love it when lots of people think that's for them too. Okay, so what I would like to do a little exercise on, and we'll kind of do something every week, is if you haven't got a French dart, how to get one. And it is easy, but there I'm just showing you what it looks like on the pattern. Sorry, that's the wrong way around. So it's on the side, and I remember having a dress when I was younger. I keep getting, when I look in there, it's different to what I'm actually doing. I had a vintage dress. When I was younger, there used to be loads of little vintage shops about, where there's very few now. And I remember a little black dress with French darts, and I used to feel so special, and it was the simplest of things. And actually, it kind of wasn't my sort of thing, because I was at fashion school, and I was going through that stage. If it wasn't complicated, and if it wasn't so much work, and it hadn't got all this stuff all over it, then it wasn't great. So something simple didn't work for me. But now my taste is, I like over the top. I think some of you know that well. But also I love simplicity and elegance, or at least I can see the beauty in it. And this is one of those things. And you did used to see it a lot in vintage dresses, and it kind of went out of fashion. But the reason it works so well is because I always say, and Cheryl, we talked about this yesterday, and some of you will have heard me say it before, seams means shape. Wherever there's a seam, you can manipulate it to shape more. So if you were trying to get a piece of fabric around a curve, the best way to do it is to stitch it, which means it's created a seam. And a dart is a seam. It's just a short one. What it's doing is taking you to the point of your bust, but from a longer line at the side. So it's giving you an opportunity to shape all that way across. So in other words, if the dart was coming from the side, you kind of stitch it in and it gets you from your side seam to the point of your bust. But if it's coming from the bottom, like the waist, it enables you to machine it into a curve and around the cup of the bust up to the point, if you wanted to. But it's giving you that longer line to get a more elegant shape. So you may want to, if you're just making ever a simple shift dress, turn it into a French dart. And I thought I would show you how to turn a bust dart into a French dart, if you would like. If that's something that is of interest, please put your thumbs up. And we'll just spend our last little time on that. While you're doing that, thank you. There's one lonely little thumbs up. Oh, bless. Thank you. Okay, we'll do. Great. So just one little thing. Well, funny, Catherine, you're just asking me the same question. Right. Okay. So if I'd have decided to use the original pattern, and the skirt has all that fullness onto it, I would have stabilized that waistband. So before I move on to the dart, I'm going to tell you this one little thing about this tape, and then we're going to finish off on the dart. Also, if the dress had got little gathers on it, and you're having to ease this in or gather it in to the back shoulder, or any time throughout making something like this you feel it needs to be stabilized, this is the best tape ever. It's from the English Couture Company. Some of you, if you've been on all my workshops, I've mentioned this many times before, but it is, I think they actually call it's a reinforcement tape, but on there they call it armhole reinforcement tape, because it is used in armholes, believe it or not, in tailoring. But it's great for any stretchiness. Again, for example, say this sleeve was really big and it was full of gathers, but it's in this silky knit, which actually when you hold it up falls to the floor because it's heavy. So that would be the same for the waist. If it got all those gathers into it, the weight of that is pulling on that just short waistline. So your bodice is only so big, but the fullness of the skirt is hanging onto it. Then I would use this tape. And why I would use this particular tape rather than any other, the cord in it, it's made of two things already stitched together. And there's a cord in there that's probably only a 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch wide. And so everything's being anchored onto that, just a cord which is holding it. It's giving it all the strength, lack of elasticity, which is what you want it stabilized, but it's not a big thick thing that's kind of got room to roll around. It's all anchored onto that fine width. The wider piece is just a very sheer weft insertion cut on the bias that's fusible. So really it's the cord that's doing the job. The other bit is just to get it on there and to flatten your seams if it's got fullness in it, help to eliminate all the gathers underneath there, so when you stitch it they're out of the way, blah blah blah. So I would you put it in the bodice? That tape is brilliant. So I wouldn't put it in. If I was going to put it anywhere in the bodice, I would only put it on the shoulder seams. It's things that are hanging down is where it's going to be needed the most, where something's going to be hanging from it. So I could, these little shoulder seams, if they'd had a bigger sleeve on it, I would have done it. But I found you get to know, obviously you've got to test it on the actual fabric, but you get to know as you're stitching along. And I actually didn't put any at all in this dress, but I did want to mention it because some of you are not doing this dress, and this style of dress, as I said earlier on, is very fashionable at the moment, and variations of it. So there's some gorgeous patterns out there with full sleeves and possibly fuller skirts, but not as full as that one. You name it. With these stretch fabrics, at some point you're going to need some of this tape, so that's why I mentioned it. Okay, so bear with me. I'm just going to fold these pieces up just so I can keep an eye on them, where I know where they've gone. The amount of patterns I have with the collar missing, or the something missing, because I pinched that bit to do a demo. I'm glad you can't actually see that properly, me folding them up, because that is not a good demonstration on folding your pattern pieces up. The tape actually is only half an inch. It's no more than, it's probably half an inch, no more than 5/8, but the cord is narrow. Well, the cord is doing the job, Tracy, so it's the cord that's got to be on the seam allowance. You're going to stitch that on your seam. That's what's keeping it all together. But you can probably see, hopefully, that it's kind of, the other bit is wider on one side than it is on the other, and the wider side wants to be in your seam. So this little edge will be resting over into your gathers, let's say. The cord is on your seam, so still stitch normally, but then put this on top and stitch through it again, just to stop it from stretching. And then that top edge is in your seam allowance, and give it a little press, and then it just stays there. I know, I want that bodice down. Well, actually I don't need it. I'm doing an imaginary one. Okay. I thought I would do it on the whiteboard, but I'll bring this here. I'm just going to draw a rough bodice. So it's good to, at home, it's good to just do little miniature ones. Don't get your miniature blocks and do it all precise. Just get the theory out in your head on paper and see how it works. It's understanding how it works. Then you can do it for real big size. Right, there's another question come up, which is an important one. How do I do this? So I'm going to answer that before I show you this bit. But let me just carry on drawing this first. When I've done pattern hacks before, you know, like awesome pattern hacks and stuff, I've explained putting two pattern pieces together, and you'll be surprised how close they already are. Now, if you're a size 10, for example, you're probably used to knowing you can just go and get a 10 and cut it out. Whatever the pattern is. They all work to the same measurement now. They all have the same starting point. And if it's not exact, it's close. The only thing is, then the designer comes along and does a little bit of shuffling around to get what they want. So things might move, but they won't move drastically. Unless, of course, you're trying to fit an enormous, baggy skirt with drapes to a tiny weeny bodice. They're not going to line up. It's got to do its draping and its job to get on there. But for something like this, the question is, does the bodice match the skirt near enough? It wasn't exact, but it's not far out. So what I ended up doing, because I'm confident I'm a standard 10, I didn't even measure it. I know that I could wear any Vogue pattern and any Simplicity or whatever the other bit was, 10. But when I came to put them together, the Vogue was probably half an inch bigger on the waist in the bodice. So the Vogue is the bodice part and the Simplicity is the skirt part. And the Vogue was overhanging by half an inch. Now I know on another Vogue, I wouldn't have known that. If I was making it all in one, I wouldn't have even known that. So I felt confident because I knew the Simplicity would fit me and normally the Vogue fits me. I just cut it off and it works. If you're not confident, you've got to check it, obviously. So it could have meant if you're in between sizes and you're not used to those sizes, that you'd have been better off putting the half an inch on the skirt to match the top. So check as you go along. And this again, unfortunately, is why people do calico toiles. But if you know, then you don't have to. Feel that you can maneuver it as you go along. Sometimes I've put Vogue and McCall's or somebody together and they fit absolutely spot on. But that's kind of maybe, you know, it will depend on the design of the two patterns. And it just so happened that this one, the designer then has probably made the bodice a little bit wider than it should be on the waist to accommodate all that gathering that's going on to it in the skirt. That's my view on it. So as we don't know the designer and we can't chat with them and find out what is behind their reasoning, then you have to prepare yourself to know what to do. Liz, you need to iron the tape on, so I haven't got the iron on, but on another workshop I will do that. We're just doing little bits of everything and saving some things for another day. Okay, so there's not necessarily in the right place, that's just really quick. I want to do a French dart. Now we're saying, let's say that's the bust point, and I know that the French dart came from just above the waist at the side. I don't even know what I'm doing. Let's just say, well, I kind of know I wanted it there. So it's much longer. Right, that's kind of the visual. So it's much more flattering. It's not coming in as a short dart, which can look a bit square, especially if you've got a full bust. So I'm thinking I'd love that French dart, and like I said to you, I could even stitch it a bit with a curve in it, a French curve, so it comes out, you know, around the bust and in a bit more. So how do I get that dart to there? I simply cut through where I want the new one, to where I'm getting rid of one. I'll draw it first. Because your dart, this dart we had probably, more than likely, doesn't go to exactly the bust point. It goes around the circumference of the bust point, else everything would be finishing, pointing out right on the point of your boobs. So I've gone up to the bust, I always call it the bust stop. So I'm on a journey, I'm cutting up to the, I'm trotting along going up to the bus stop, and then I stand there, look around, see where I want to go, and then I go off to where my next destination, and that is to the point of that dart. Okay, so you probably can't see that, but I've cut through there as well. I'm going to close this dart, the original one. Get a bit of sellotape. Okay, I've now opened it up to give me a new dart. So I true this back up the side, get rid of those bits I don't want. I place another piece of fabric underneath, piece of paper underneath there. Mate, this is that, you know, that sellotape, and it just rips away. I'll just put a bit on there. It's coming off in shreds. It's probably because it's old. Don't know if it does that when it's old, but got ya. Just filling it in with the black pen so you can see. Cut that out. And you will feel so good, like a real designer doing something like this. So there's your new bodice. So it's on the fold, you haven't altered the sleeves, the armholes, the shoulders, nothing else. You've got rid of a bust dart, we've still got a bust dart, but you've turned it into a French dart, an elegant French dart. And if it was shaped, you'd be stitching it more like that. Actually, I should have done that so you can see. But you won't know. You'd be better off putting this, making this in calico and putting it on inside out and shaping it around you if you wanted it shaped. So it doesn't have to be those two straight lines. It can be, you know, going into your body and out again. And you have, in seconds, a French dart. So Janice is wanting to make that up, but change the neck. Jill says good tip, thank you. Sarah says brilliant, thank you very much. So we kind of, that's our this week's sewing school. I hope you like the idea of Saturday morning sewing school. I thought it seemed a good time. 134 people watching, yay! Thank you everybody. French dart makes me think of Audrey Hepburn. That's where I was going with my vintage dress that I had. It was black. round neck, sleeveless, 2 French darts, little shift, and it had a waist seam, and it was so Audrey Hepburn. It was gorgeous. So you're right, I see it as that era too. Okay, so how long, let me just check time. So it was an hour and 20 minutes. So every week we'll do something. It's not a big how-to beginning and chuck everything in. We need to have a little bit of something every week, and a variation. So it's about fabrics, about patterns, it's about tips. Thank you, everybody. Scuba crepe would work with this dress, definitely. Georgina loved it, thank you. Ruth, fabulous tips, loved it, made loads of notes. Excellent. Jackie, fabulous. Looking forward to next week already. Fab. This is the best. Got on late. Have to go and watch the beginning. Thank you so much. You're welcome. And Kathleen loves the idea of sewing school. So let me just say thank you, Anne. And Shauna says perfect with coffee. Great. Right. Thank you, Denise. One thing to say, just because I'm taking advantage of the opportunity. I know some of you, I've talked about fitting before, but I have decided to put on a one evening event, you know, like I did the creative fabric and the awesome pattern hacks. I'm doing one just on fitting, and that's because I've given you little snippets before, but I want to tell it as a story, because fitting isn't just about fit, it's about style, and half of it is about what suits you in the first place. Is you got halfway there to a good fit. So what I've ordered some bits of things, so I'm going to use my mannequin and pad it out and make it look like a client. So I'm not going to do it perfectly. You pick up this pattern and here you go, and you just add this bit. Here's a full bust adjustment. I want you to show all the how to measure, how to go about a proper figure shape, not something that's already half perfect, you know, with specific things that we kind of know how to do anyway. And then I want to explain that, how it relates to ease, how it relates to people, how it relates to patterns, how it relates to fabric and the styles and fashion. And it's one of my stories. Sorry, I'm a bit big on stories, but I think with the whole picture, fitting makes sense. It's so logical. I know when I've done fitting workshops before and I say to somebody this, and they just go, that's obvious. And yet it's difficult on your own because you've got no one to talk it through with, and nobody out of all those things I've just said, fabric, patterns, designers, etc., links to each other. And they all do link to each other, and you have to go through it in a specific order, and then by the time you get there, everything fits wonderfully. So that's why I can confidently say when not to use a calico, when you don't need one. Doesn't mean you have to, and sometimes you really do need one, but it doesn't mean you have to make one for everything you ever make. So I'm honestly recommending the reality fitting. That's what I'm calling it. There's no fancy stuff. It's the reality of, you know, if you've got to get from one place to another, you're going to get there one way or another. We just want it to be the smoothest, nicest route possible, but directly there. You'll be amazed how I've seen people in the business kind of thinking, oh my gosh, the dress is made, it doesn't fit. It's too late then. But if it's made, they're trying to drag it to places that they can chop off. I've literally seen somebody in a Bond Street shop, and the hem, you know what's happening, it's across the backside, across the bottom here, it wasn't working. So they've pulled it down to smooth out the wrinkles, and the client has gone, but now it's not right at the bottom. Oh, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Look, cut it along the bottom, and then it goes ping, back to wrinkling, and now the hem's like this. I mean, not to most people that's kind of logical, but I'm not saying it should be. That's only if we've been in the business. So I need to tell you where and when you can get to things and where that should be. So hopefully, if that's of interest to you, I recommend reality fitting. And then on another day, I'll tell you more about the other stuff that we're going to be doing. And especially for people that are, well, we're all individual anyway. We're all different. Nothing's standard. And if we fluctuate in weight, you don't suddenly grow up to the next size. You are the same. This is what people, and even when I say this to people, I'm thinking, what do you mean? We don't grow from a size 10 into a 12 unless we're young and we're growing up. If we get bigger, we're still a size 10 but bigger, if that makes sense. So we're expanding and shaping, curving patterns. We're not going up a whole size. That's the bit we really need to know about. And all, yeah, those fittings, everybody, thank you, are all on the website. Yeah, it's on the website. So that's so Terry Fox. Thank you, lovelies. I've really enjoyed this morning. So next week, I don't know if I'll always be able to tell you what I'm doing the following week, because the criteria has to be just right for me to be able to think that fits everything that I want to say. And as we go on, it'll get easier. But for that first one, I specifically wanted it to be a dress that you'd wear of the moment, in the right kind of fabrics, etc. Because we're still winter, aren't we? But next week, I thought I would do the shirt that I hacked before, which is Sandra Betsina. Not because I want to tell you the hacks again. Some of us did that on Vivienne Westwood. But I want to... Some of you have been making up the pattern and find the pockets difficult because of the instructions. So I thought I'd go through that with you. So I'm going to make that shirt up again, but as it is on the pattern, not with the hacks that I did on the Westwood. So hopefully I'll show you that one. And it's a fantastic, again, it's one of those things that we can all wear. It'll be a really useful garment to wear with jeans, leggings, trousers. It's stylish. Thank you, lovelies. You've all made lovely comments. Thank you. Right, I shall let you go. I don't know what time it is again. We must be getting nearer to... Oh, it's 12:30. Cheryl wants to make... Cheryl, that'll suit you so much. That shirt is for you. I could see you making several of those. The classic white one would look great. I did, Jules. Well done. It was, I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but if it was a pattern match, it was the red one. So if you see a video of me making the swing dress in red, that's when I did. I think so. Anyway, that's when I did the pattern match. And definitely, oh no, I don't think I did the pattern match on the thing. So all that for the pattern number will go up on Thursday. I don't know it off the top of my head. I literally only just hang on. Where are you? I lied. Right, there it is. So I'm not supposed to give you this information now. This comes out on Thursday, but it's Vogue V1456. That's a good one to remember. Okay, that one. So I'll come out with that on Thursday, let you know my fabric, etc. But no more on that. Thank you, Kathleen. So I'll see you all. I'll be, well, until we get the iPhones. That's what I was saying, I think. No, I'm not going to do, because I need to walk about, so I won't do it again like I did last night. It just doesn't work, that blooming phone now. So Sarah's made that twice, the shirt. That's brilliant. And Jules got that as her freebie. It's a great pattern. I definitely recommend it. Right, I've got to go and do stuff. You know I never like to go. All right, lovelies. I will go now, and I'll see you Thursday in some form or another. It'll probably just be a posting, and then I'll see you next Saturday. Anyway, take care. Mwah. Yay.